Scarcity is one of the key of concept of economics. It means the demand for a good or service is greater than the availability of the good or services. Therefore, scarcity can limit the choices available to the consumers who ultimately make up the economy. Scarcity is important for understanding how goods and services are valued. Things that are scarce like gold, diamonds, or certain kind of knowledge are more valuable for being scarce because sellers of these goods and services can set higher prices. These sellers knows the good more people want their good or service than there are goods and services available. They can find buyers of a higher cost. Scarcity of goods and services is an important variable for economic models because it can affect the decision made by consumers. For some people, the scarcity of a good or service means they cannot afford it. The economy of any places is made up of these choices by individuals and companies about what they can produce and afford. We all know that during the pandemic, scarcity booms in our world. What is scarcity? The demand for a good or service is greater than the availability of the good or service, or as we all know, shortage. Through an article by Science Direct, we can discover how scarcity played in the times of the pandemic.
Existing literature shows a positive effect of demand-driven scarcity cues on consumer purchase intentions. Hospitality businesses with high market demand tend to be preferred as consumers perceive services to be popular and of superior quality. In this research, we demonstrate that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, consumers form a novel inference about demand-driven scarcity. Consumers consider scarce hospitality businesses to be less safe to consume. This new scarcity-safety inference in turn lowers consumers' purchase intentions and preference because the scarcity-safety inference is more diagnostic than scarcity popularity and quality inference in the current pandemic. Furthermore, when consumers are presented with more diagnostic external information and where the consumption context lowers safety concerns, the main negative effect of scarcity cues on consumer purchase decision is attenuated. These findings provide important managerial implications for hospitality businesses.
The global hospitality industry has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. During the first quarter of 2020, the UK hospitality sector experienced a 21% drop in sales. In Australia, more than 30% of hospitality employees lost their jobs. Given this severe situation, it is important for hospitality businesses to understand how the pandemic has drastically changed people's consumption behaviors. This understanding can help them take corresponding measures to minimize the devastating impacts of this pandemic on their operations. One seemingly mundane consumption activity such as dining at restaurants, traveling in trains or airplanes, or staying at hotels have been greatly curtailed due to health and hygiene regulations and consumptions. Concern about contracting COVID-19 in public spaces. Thus, consumers may change their ways of assessing the desirability of the hospitality services. For example, as numerous reports point out that coronavirus clusters starts from popular hospitality venues. Those venues with high occupancy rates may no longer be perceived as desirable options. This shift in perception may lead to different purchase decisions of consumers in the hospitality industry. Our proposed and test a novel interpretation of scarcity cues that consumers have developed due to COVID-19 pandemic.
Scarcity cues, particularly the demand-driven scarcity cues, are information that signals high service demand and low service availability. Wang et al. 2020. scarcity cues are commonly adopted by consumers to infer service, popularity, and quality in their decision-making processes. For example, consumers prefer crowded restaurants to empty ones as they perceive crowded restaurants to serve better food. And Hellops and Jacobson 1999, when consumers book a hotel on websites such as Booking.com or Agoda, they can easily information about how many rooms are currently left or how many times the hotel has been booked in the past. Similarly, when reserving tickets online for entertainment, shows, sports games, and cruise vacation, consumers are instantly exposed to the ticket availability information. Only 2 tickets left. Popularity and quality influence consumers' purchase intention. ENFOWAL 2018 1 et al. 2020 and Parker and Leham 2011, Van Herpen et al. 2009. Popularity and quality influence consumers' purchase intention. ENFOWAL 2018 Wang et al. 2020, Parker and Leham 2011, Van Herpen et al. 2009.
Our findings make several substantial contributions. First, we are one of the first to demonstrate the safety interference about scarcity cues, which is most relevant to the hospitality industry. Existing literature shows that scarcity cues driven by high market demand lead to consumers to infer popularity and quality. We demonstrate that consumers also infer scarcity cues for safety, and such inference is due to the COVID-19 pandemic and manifest in the hospitality businesses. Second, we add to the literature by showing the negative effect of scarcity cues on consumer purchases decisions. Prior research has mainly focused on the positive effect of scarcity cues, while documenting some moderating conditions under which the positive effect can turn negative. For instance, consumers lower their preferences for scarce products when the product signals status. Van Herpen et al. 2009, when consumers have strong prior preferences. Parker and Lehman 2011, and when the purchase is for self versus others. Wu and Lee 2016, in this research, we show that during the current COVID-19 pandemic, the safety interference derived from scarcity cues completely reversed the established positive main effect of scarcity cues on purchase decisions. Drawing on the accessibility and diagnostic framework, Feldman and Lynch 1988, Lynch et al. 1988, we provide a conceptual explanation for the reversal effect and provide empirical evidence to support the mechanism. In this research, however, we suggest that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, consumers make a novel negative interference about demand-driven scarce cues. At a service venue, the more people a consumer interacts with, the higher the risk of contracting the coronavirus. Even when the venue has strictly limited its operation capacity to meet the COVID-19 regulation, consequently, consumers reduce their purchases, intentions, and preference for scarce hospitality services because they feel less safe. Although the extant literature has well established the positive effect of scarcity cues, popularity, and quality interference and purchases intention, we propose and demonstrate that the COVID-19 pandemic has led consumers to form a novel and more diagnostic inference about scarcity cues on safety, which overwhelm other interference and lowers consumer purchase intention and preferences for scarce hospitality services.
Finally, we explore and identify ways for hospitality business to mitigate the negative effect of scarcity cues on consumer purchase decisions. When a service consumption context does not raise safety concern, like contactless consumption, or when other diagnostic external information such as use, the negative effect of safety inference induced by scarcity cues on consumer purchase decision is attenuated. These findings offer direct and important practical implication for hospitality business, which we will detail in general discussion section.